Well, good morning. How are you?
I'm great, Melissa. How are you?
Good, good. I'm so glad to see you. It's been a long time since we've seen each other in person.
That's correct.
Yes,
The
yeah.
last Dallas market.
Oh, sad, sad, sad. Well, I'll take a second to introduce the podcast. For those of you joining us for the first time, this is the Pointing It Out podcast, and this is a joint venture between my pal Megan Holmes at the Needlepoint Clubhouse in St. Louis and myself, Melissa McLeod, at the Wool and the Floss in Detroit, Michigan. And we try to bring you all fun things Needlepoint whenever we can. And this week, I have the pleasure of introducing you to Jude Brizard. Am I saying your last name right?
Broussard. Pretty
Okay.
close.
Well, when you have a name like Jude, no one really needs to know your last name. You're kind of like Madonna in the needlepoint world. You're just Jude. As a matter of fact, I asked Megan, I'm like, I'm embarrassed. I'm not sure I even know Jude's last name. And she's like, well, why would we need to? She's just Jude. So,
Yeah.
and you have a design line called appropriately Jude Designs. And I will have to sit up a little straight. I'm wearing my Tulane t-shirt, which is a little
Hey.
unusual thing to wear to the shop for me. But I went to school in New Orleans. My daughter goes to school at Tulane in New Orleans also. And the reason I mentioned that is because your line and you are very New Orleans centric, I think is a fair
That's
assessment.
correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about you, my dear. Where are you right now? I know you're in Louisiana somewhere, so tell us a little bit about that.
I am. And I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but if you ever walked into my booth in Dallas, we always carried our local Cajun theme. So I'm going to start with this. Can you hear it? So I am Cajun. We live in the heart of Cajun country in Louisiana, a little town called Carencro, which is just north of Lafayette. And no one knows Lafayette. It's about 2 hours west of New Orleans.
Okay.
And
I think can you define Cajun? People ask me that all the time. So tell me what your definition of Cajun is.
Cajun is, well, we had people that came down here from Canada that were thrown out of Canada back in the day, but and they brought with them the flavors of they were Canadian French, so that came down. So we call it a Cajun French now. It's a broken French, and in fact, my parents, when they grew up, spoke only French. They were from neighboring towns, and they were punished at school if they spoke French. Now there's immersion programs and our children are learning French in school. So Cajun, it's more of a state of mind, I guess, but it's like this music, which is old time music. It's a blend of Creole now, which so it has to do a lot with the cooking and the food and the people being friendly to each other and welcoming and
Very
so that's what the Cajuns are.
Okay. Well, people ask me all the time, how do you define that? I'm like, I was only lived in New Orleans for a few years. I'm not sure I'm the right one to try to define that. So.
Well, and really New Orleans is not necessarily Cajun. You have to get a little further west down to where we are in the Lafayette area. And this is called the Cajun, Acadiana, which comes from the term from Acadia, where the people first came down from. And so this is the heart of Cajun country in this South Louisiana area.
Okay, good to know. And is that
where Baton Rouge? What's up?
Is that where you've always lived?
Most of my life. I was born in Lafayette, and when my first husband, we moved to Singapore for a couple of years, then came back to Lafayette, and we lived in New Orleans for a little while. And then my current husband, we've lived out here. We live on 100 acres, so we're out in the country north of Lafayette. So we have a pond, and we have all the kind of good stuff. And we call it going into town. It takes 20 minutes to get to Lafayette. So we call that going into town, you know. But so we live kind of a rural life out here. We have 5 children between us and 16 grandchildren.
Wow.
So big family.
That's
Most of them live in Houston, though, in the Houston area.
okay.
And,
Good.
so I now went to school here in Lafayette, graduated from the university. At the time, it was the University of Southwestern Louisiana. It's now called the University of Louisiana at Lafayette.
Okay.
And my degree is not fine arts or any of that. I have a degree in math with a
Okay.
minor in English.
Well, I tell people all the time, needlepoint is very mathematical. They don't quite believe me, but it really is.
Uh-huh.
Not
Oh,
really
yeah, some of it
complicated.
really is. That's my background.
Wow. So did you always have an interest in art, or how did the art thing become a part of your world?
Yes, I was always drawing or painting as a child. You know, took a few little classes here and there. But when it came time to go to college, my mother wanted me to do something practical that I might have a job when I came out. So
That's usually the goal.
art was not necessarily one of those jobs. So that's why I didn't do anything in college with it. But while I was in college, I had a part-time job at Sears in the fabric department because I sewed all the time. I loved to sew. I sewed all my clothes and all that. And they had a little side department, and they had a needlepoint kits, those stamped needlepoint kits.
Yep.
So I said, oh, that looks, and it was colorful. And then I don't know if you know, my favorite color is red. My biggest bottle of paint is red.
There we go.
So I just always loved colors. And so there was this one piece, it was probably 18 by 18, my first piece of needlepoint. It was
Wow.
a sampler, but it was a painted one. And as I started stitching it, you know, none of the lines lined up, and you had to figure out what to do with it and all that. So I got an appreciation of stamped canvases versus painted ones.
I think we've all done
Yeah.
one screen printed one once, and then realized that it's worth the price of admission for a hand painted canvas for sure.
Well, exactly. And so that kit was not that very expensive. Like I said, I was a college student, but when I moved to New Orleans, my husband was getting transferred to Singapore, and I knew I needed to bring something to do with me over there. So I went to my first needlepoint shop. It was on, I think it was actually on Tulane.
Oh, that's terrible.
I forget the name of it, but it's the owners is the current Needle Arts now.
Okay.
It's the same shop, but
Moved a few.
Laura now has it further down on Canal. So when I went in there, I said, well, I'm going to buy me a canvas to bring with me. And I saw the prices of painted canvases, and we were straight out of college. So I said, well, that's not going to work. But I did appreciate the fact that, you know, how beautiful the painted canvases were. And having painted and stuff put on paper before, I said, well, I'm just going to buy me some blank canvas and some thread. I had a picture of something I had in mind to do. So I went back to the shop and bought a blank piece of canvas to bring with me. And I actually have the piece that I had done. This was my first piece. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, I love it.
It was done from a picture of a needlepoint in a magazine. And when I showed the lady my picture and I asked her for blank canvas, she says, well, how are you going to put that on there? I said, well, I don't know. I'm just going to figure it out, I guess. And so I drew the lines. And so this was my first knowing that I could put a design onto canvas, but it was for me personally.
Nice.
So then we moved to Singapore, and there was a British lady who was teaching needlepoint classes. And once you're there, you had to find something to do with your time because none of the ladies worked. You know, it was all the men that were working. And so she taught a class, and this was the piece she taught.
Look at you.
You can see it needs some repairs and all, but it was to learn different stitches.
Okay.
So that was, but besides this, she painted canvases. So that was my first introduction to someone actually putting paint on the canvas. And I dug these up this morning, and it was very rough what she was doing. I don't know if you can, this was called a Singapore scene.
Oh gosh,
And
pretty.
you can see how roughly it painted.
Yeah.
So after I saw that, and I still haven't stitched it yet, but I said, well, I could do that. So while I was in Singapore, we had a little circle of friends, and I started painting for them, and they would come to my house. And so I started teaching needlepoint. I mean, I really knew nothing, but I started teaching it. And I had a book, so I learned stitches. And so I started painting for them, and most of them were in the oil business. So I was painting oil rigs.
Oh gosh.
I mean, crazy stuff, boats and stuff. So, but it was very rough. It was kind of like this. I didn't know anything about stitch painting, or, I was just drawing, putting lines on a canvas. And doing it. So that was where it started. And so that was like in 1976.
Wow.
And so when we came back to the States, I started having children. And then after that, I got a real job. I was thinking of going back to school in architecture. And my brother had a engineering firm, mechanical and electrical engineering firm. And I knew how to do drafting. So he says, why don't you come work at the firm? We deal with architects, and you can see if you really want to become an architect. Well, after I started working there, I moved from drafting to designing mechanical systems, and eventually became a partner in an engineering and architecture firm. And I did that for 35 years.
I had no idea. Good for you.
But in the meantime, people found out, some of my friends, that I had painted a few things. So I started painting a few things on the side for different people, selling them to the local shops. And I looked back at my file last night while I was preparing for this. And I mean, I was doing little Cajun houses, little alligators, little Christmas ornaments with crawfish on them. So it was all mostly still localized things. But I guess it wasn't until about 2002 that I actually decided I'm going to make a little business out of it. My name is actually Judy, Judy.
Okay, I never knew that either.
But my mom, whenever she was upset, she was, Jude. And that's what she called me throughout my life, was Jude. And with all our kids and our grandkids, and family and all that, everybody now refers to me as Jude also. So I said, well, that's cute. So that became my signature on all of my canvases. And at the time when I started the line, I thought I was going to maybe specialize in Christmas, because I do love Christmas and ornaments and all. So that's why it's the red and green,
right?
The signature on my canvases. And so I think I took on the line around, decided I was going to do an actual line in around 2002. And I knew that I was going to specialize in local stuff. There's so much here to put on canvas, the local life, the food, everything. So that was really my specialty. And so that's why I actually named my website. If you've ever gone to my website, it's called Spicy Needlepoint.
Correct. I should have.
And there's not many tans and taupe colors on it. It's mostly very lively and very colorful. And I think I've pretty much maintained that over the years. But my very first series that I did was the Cajun 12 Days of Christmas.
Okay.
And that's where every now and then I have a new series. And that came from, there's a song here, just like the original 12 Days of Christmas. But it's the Cajun version, crawfish in a fig tree, 3 stuffed shrimp,
I never knew that.
12 shotgun shells, so that was my first little line, and I still sell them today. So
Yep.
it's kind of hung around through time. A lot of my canvases, I haven't, I've discontinued some, but every now and then, like I had discontinued my line of crosses. I had 12 crosses, a year of crosses. And all of a sudden there's been a resurgence. I have, unintentionally left them on my website, and all of a sudden now so I'm bringing some stuff back. In fact, there's a Tabasco piece that's going to be coming back in the line. I don't know if you can see this one. I had discontinued this one at what time? Can you see?
Parts of it we can see. Oh, gotcha. Now we can see it when you run it across. That's the coloration is very interesting.
So I'm actually sending that one off to the painters pretty soon, and bringing it back into the line. I didn't start I was doing all my painting on my own until about 2007.
Wow.
And that's when I started using just, well, I wasn't selling much either. I mean, I was just, one or two canvases here and all that. So, but as orders, when I developed the little Cajun 12 Days of Christmas, I couldn't, all of a sudden couldn't keep up with so I was able to find a painting service, and that's when I was able to do more, because if you don't have to, paint 5 of one thing, right.
So attending trade shows about then?
I started in 2007. The owners of the local shop here, Nancy and Jerry Bauer of Stitch and Frame, they encouraged me to go with them to the Dallas market in 2007, see what it's all about. And so I did go with them. I was able to talk to a few people. I talked to Lee with Lee Designs and a couple other people, and I had brought a few pieces with me that I was doing at the time. And they said, "Oh no, you need to do a show. You need to do a show." Well, I didn't have enough stuff to do, but I did start in 2010 is when I went to the first Dallas market. That was the market I did every year. I missed 1 year until they shut down. 2019 was the last market. And I had done one large show in California, but being so in Dallas, there was a lot of people that knew Cajun stuff and all that, but the big market, not so much. But now here it's weird. I'm talking with you up in Michigan and your partner up there in Missouri, so it's become more national. I guess people who have moved can appreciate the Cajun culture. And of course I do carry the Tabasco line, which is international.
Right.
Well,
I'm in St. Louis.
I have the exclusive rights. I have the exclusive rights to the Tabasco line. I'm the only needlepoint designer allowed to. It's an annual contract that's renewed. I've been under contract with them for 13 years. Wow. And so of course, I have to send them a little royalty every time I sell a product, and they're very, very strict on everything has to be approved. In fact, I had done Needlepoint now had asked to do a cover and a little story on it. And by the time we've got the final approval, they were getting ready to pull the whole thing. There was too much trouble to try to get it right. But we did get that worked out. And so I had acquired, I guess maybe 3 or 4 years before that, there was a shop called the Persian Cat in New Orleans. And they had the contract with Manny, the Tabasco people. Okay. But the owner was ill, and they eventually closed that shop, and a new shop took over the ownership of the contract, but we're not doing anything with it. So I approached Tabasco and asked, if I could have it, and I showed them some of my stuff. So one of the best selling item that I have in my line it's you can tell by the number, it's T1, meaning it was very early in my design stage.
Right.
And that's the Tabasco bottle.
And which size is that? 'Cause I know you have a bunch of different sizes.
I have the mini one, but the one that I think it's the bottle itself, it's about 5 inches tall, maybe, and about 1.5 inches wide.
Okay.
So
So
because you can get,
that's-
there's a lot of detail on it as opposed to the little mini bottle. And I
Right.
think that's why people like it. And it can either be an ornament or framed.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of where the Tabasco connection came from.
Gotcha.
And they're right down here in Avery Island. I don't know, it's maybe about 30 minutes outside of here where they actually make the Tabasco products.
That's what I figured. It was a Louisiana native product. So
Mhm.
another born and bred Louisiana. Good.
Yes.
And you've kind of expanded on your 12 days. So I was noticing in your line, and I've carried some of the pieces. You have a number of different 12 days variations from the Cajun, right?
Yes. Yes, I do. Like I said, I did do the crosses, which there was one a month. That was, and then after that, I had done a fleur-de-lis collection, and that one has since been discontinued. But they were like little coaster size fleur-de-lis. And I have the 12 Days of New Orleans, of course, that's got the beignets and the streetcars and the baby and a king cake and all that. So that one's still very popular. I think the one that I'm most proud of is which is not a local one, and it's hard for me to expand into the national market because there's so many designers, so many good designers, and so many, really nice canvases that's a tough market to break into. But I did the 12 Days Christ is Christmas.
Yeah.
And that series has done exceptionally well. And then I did the manger scene that goes with the 12 days. And so I think that's the one set of canvases that I'm most proud of. And then I guess newer than that is my USA 12 days.
Yeah.
And so that and along one of this is not it. Well, there was a series. I did little license plates for all the different areas. Did I do your state yet?
I know we talked about it at the last market, and then I don't know if it's happened yet. So hopefully.
Yeah, no, I need to do that one.
Great.
But yeah, so that was another line that kind of had gone to I was getting ready to discontinue it, and then all of a sudden somebody found it and started ordering, and the posting and the internet has been an incredible tool for
Sharing the love, right?
yes. And last year, during all the pandemic, last year was my busiest year ever. I don't know, people sitting home, I guess, and just Googling needlepoint and different things, because I've been getting calls from shops all over the United States, not wanting a lot, but maybe I get a call, this lady wants this canvas, and I know that's where it's coming from. So last year was one of my busiest years ever, and really have not added that many new things to the line. I do a lot of special orders for the shops in my area here. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm trying to think what we haven't talked about. I gave you a little outline and you just plowed right through. So that's really great. Do you have is the Tabasco your personal favorite in your line? What is your personal favorite?
Well, I like that Christmas series. But yeah, the Tabascos, I mean, it just lends itself to being colorful and right up there with my byline of being spicy needlepoint, So, and that's my next thing to do on my list is I'm gonna be doing Tabasco nutcrackers.
Oh,
in a couple of different sizes. So that'll be coming out hopefully within a couple of weeks. I'll be able to show it and then send those off to the painters and get those done.
Well,
But I mean, I'm a one-person operation. It's just me and then my painters that I,
and
that you contract with.
it's tricky, I'm sure. One of the things that I really love that you do are these drink canvases, and I should have put something behind this. There we go. And what I love about these is you have them done on this black and white kind of tweedy looking canvas. I don't
Yes.
think the product for this. But the black and white background is so fabulous. So it's kind of like the opposite of those old pre-worked canvases. Like I feel like I tell people just stitch the object and don't even stitch that gorgeous canvas. Why would you? And
Exactly.
what's left open. I think you've got like 8 or 10 of these. Is that something in that vein?
Yes, that's different drinks, and of course, it's got the Bloody Mary with the Tabasco bottle, the Cosmopolitan, the martini, the beer, wine.
Great.
So it's called my libation celebration
I think
series.
Great, really great. And I think some people are a little like not sure what to do with that colored canvas. And there's not that many designers that paint on non-white canvases right now. And I always have to get people kind of to embrace that. But once they do, they're like, oh my gosh, this is so great. So I like.
Well, I have some pictures. I have some pictures of some finished ones that I could shoot over to you. Because some of them do them as little stand-ups, others frame them. So,
Nice. Well, great. Well, I so appreciate all your time. Is there anything we haven't talked about you'd like to share? I don't know if we missed anything.
well, the only thing I know, my daughter's going to listen to this podcast,
Yeah.
and she has been my rock when we would always go to the Dallas markets. When we first started in 2010, she was my partner in crime, and she was fully pregnant because it was in April, I think, back in the day. It was in spring, and she had the baby in July, and it was the birth was traumatic, and we almost lost our little granddaughter. So the following year, she actually brought her with her air tank and in tow, and so we had her at market with us the following year, and so she was a trooper. She always wanted to help, and because setting up an old market, it's not a one-man show there.
Right.
So she has been with me every year going to market, and I had already decided I was not going to do the 2020 market just because it's just so much. Because the minute you get back from market, you have to start planning ahead of what you're going to do for next year and getting your products in. And I've been seeing the emails on Destination Dallas that they're already anticipating they're not going to have inventory because painting services right now are taking 4 to 6 months to get stuff back. And I was running into that, and I didn't want to show up at market without inventory, but you have to start in December for a September show to get stuff designed and in. So and the internet evolved so much over this last year with the coronavirus that I don't know. I figured I was going to go more on the internet side and maybe not do the markets
Right.
anymore.
Yeah,
But we'll see.
To ordering from our designers' websites, which is very possible, but it sure is fun to get together with everyone and connect and network and see things in person and get a real feel.
Oh yeah, I do know people they like that. Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing that we didn't touch on is my husband and I love to travel, so we've been confined here, so I've been able to do a lot more needleworks, get a lot more done, but that's getting ready to open up. So we already have 5 trips booked between now and next October of 2022. He's ready to roll. So, we're looking forward to doing some traveling. Maybe stay. They say that the trend is to stay a little longer now once you get out. So
Nice.
take advantage of, uh, of travel while you're out there.
Good. Well, yes, you gotta get a little bit of the work-life balance back in order instead of all work and no play for sure. So, but hopefully you'll take some stitching with you. And do you enjoy stitching yourself?
Um, yes, I do. It's usually I do a little ornament or something for the kids for Christmas or something like that. Um, I have a piece I started, I think probably about 5 years ago. Um,
Oh gosh,
it's
yeah,
still, you can tell from the backside, it's not very, so,
good to me.
so um, I like to stitch, but by the time I've sat in my studio all day, and it's like you can't look at another canvas,
Yeah,
you know?
it's hard right now
So,
when us in the industry
I-
are working so many hours. It's hard to find the time to stitch and to get the motivation to stitch. But maybe when you're taking
and
those
you did,
trips, it'll be more interesting.
yeah, and you did mention I have a pencil sticking out of my head, so I'll show what that really is. I'm in my studio, which is part of my home. My
Oh,
husband built this extension for me maybe about 5 years ago. And so I have this huge room that looks out on the property, and also this is where as soon as I get dressed in the morning, I'm in here till 5 o'clock in the evening every day. So
okay. I know people think when you work at home, like it's this leisurely thing, but I think most people that have a successful business treat it like a business and they're working 9 to 5 and then some. So
that's it. That's it.
it's
And when I guess I don't know if I mentioned that the firm that I was a partner in, I fully retired in just 2018. So
okay.
I was developing all this stuff on the side. I was gradually retiring, taking a few hours off every week for several years.
Right.
But I really didn't give up that job until 2018. So all this has been going on in the background, the Needlepoint's business. So it was busy time too.
Well, that's good. Yeah, when I was working full time, and then I had my kids, and I had a while where I said I was working on not working. Like I would, slowly scale back, and so yes, that is a part of life. So you retired into a new career. So sounds like you're working full
Yep.
time with this now too.
Yeah, and fortunately, I have the luxury of doing this at my leisure and not being um, forced to do it to make a living,
Right.
which I don't know if I could have handled that if this needlepoint would have had to sustain me.
Right.
You know how that is.
Force
It's
creativity.
a lot of labor for not many. I know canvases are expensive by the time they get to the retail side of it, but they're so intense on labor
Sure.
that you really don't get the dollar
There's a lot of man
amount. So
involved. No one's making $1 million in this business for sure. We all know that.
that's correct. And
Full
so
of
I'm so
love.
glad that my passion has turned into something that I can just have fun with it and not be pressured into knowing I have to meet a bottom line dollar on it. So gives me a little bit flexibility.
Right. Well, good. Well, I so appreciate you spending time with us, and I encourage people to go and check out your website. So it's www, obviously, spicyneedlepoint.com. Is that
.com.
okay? I couldn't remember.
And if you'd like,
So I'll put that in the show notes so people can.
okay. And if they want to email me, it's Jude, JDE @spicyneedlepoint.com.
And any of your local needlepoint shops can help you with Jude's designs. And as I said at the beginning, maybe offline, just realized that all of your designs have snuck out my door. So I'll be placing an order with you very soon as well, my dear. So thank you
Fantastic.
so much. And I hope to see you in real life soon. I'm actually going to New Orleans next weekend. So if you pop into the city,
Oh, yay.
run into you. You never know. So
Uh-huh.
well,
Good
good.
deal.
thank you so much for spending time with us. And for
Oh, my
those who
pleasure,
watch
my pleasure.
the podcast, if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. That helps other people find us and gives us the opportunity to introduce all these fabulous designers to everybody. So you have a great week, everyone. And thanks again, Jude. Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Melissa. Mhm.